And if you deal with them when they're small, then you don't have to deal with them when they're big, because they'll never get big. It's kind of like that noise that you have, that little rattling in your car, and you ignore it. And so a $5 problem turns into a $500 problem because you just didn't really want to address it. And liberation is like that. Human rights is like that. We have a new administration coming in to take control over the country, and things are very uncertain. And regardless of how you feel about this person who's going to be in charge, making all these radical changes, our situation hasn't really changed. No matter who's been in office, no matter what they said, no matter how many promises they've made, our situation still not really has changed. And so how do we make a change? How do we get things to pivot in our favor? Well, there's lots of reasons why we haven't. It's not for lack of trying. We've had over 100 cities, since the Civil War, we've had over 100 cities that were independent, and melanated people were operating them, sometimes in conjunction with Europeans. Caucasians have been involved in the thriving of the city. Wilmington, North Carolina is an example of that. It was a mixed community. They were thriving. They had a diplomatic government. They had a way of doing things that was fair to the people in the town. And what happened? Other people were jealous and burned it to the ground. Allensburg, California, thriving town, melanated, controlled by black people. Thriving, what happened? They rerouted the water. Well, first, they wanted to end the town. It didn't quite work. So they rerouted the water. Well, first they poisoned the water. And then they rerouted the water. Then they ran a train through it. And it's like, so when we look at situations like these fires that are happening, and how conveniently people are rushing in to offer money for the property of the people who just lost everything, it kind of makes you wonder, like, is it a setup? And the answer is yes. The reason why it's so difficult for us to grow things is because it's a setup. And our young people need to understand that. So when they build things, they understand they have to build it with security in mind. Because if they don't, same thing will continue to happen. The other point that's really important for us to understand is that we all must be involved to secure our liberation. It can't be somebody else's problem. We can't wait for some savior to come and change everything on our behalf. It doesn't work like that. If you really want liberation for yourself, your loved ones, your community, your children, your grandchildren, and their grandchildren, we're going to have to get off of our butts and do something. Get off of our butts and organize. Start speaking to our neighbors. Start building with other people. And I know this is scary. I've been trying to build community in Long Beach for over 30 years. And I still a struggle. Fortunately, at EMC Squared, we understand what community is. We understand that when somebody needs help, we help them. We don't stand by and watch. One of the discussions we had with the scholars the other day was about when a crisis happens, what do you do? Do you just whip out your phone and start recording? Is that going to change anything? No. You have to take action. You have to be wise about what that action is, because you don't want to throw yourself in harm's way unnecessarily, but you must take action. The time to sit on the side and wait for somebody else to do it is over. If we want anything, we are going to have to do it. We can only count on ourselves. Everything else is a maybe. So tonight I just want to encourage you that when you see things happening that are not in alignment with right, because at this point it's not even a black and white issue. It's a right and wrong issue. It's a humanity issue. It's an inhumanity issue. And sometimes it's an insanity issue. We have got to take a stand or we won't be able to stand. We've got to make changes now, while we can. We have to be conscious about our moves, conscious about the things that we're doing, conscious about what we're building. Just as a question, how many of you know about COINTELPRO? Has anyone heard of COINTELPRO? COINTELPRO is something that was initiated back in the 60s by J. Edgar Hoover, who was in charge of the CIA. And for our younger scholars who don't know about the CIA, it's the Central Intelligence Agency. And it's supposed to be the watchdog to make sure that America stays safe. Unfortunately, it's a mob. It's a gang. And they are out to destroy anybody who tampers with their power. We had in the 60s and 70s, when we had Black Power movements that were inspiring other people around the world to take hold of their liberation, to make change, to stand up for what's right. The CIA sent infiltrators. An infiltrator is someone who sneaks into your organization and acts like they belong there, but they're really there to disrupt and turn things around and keep things from happening. So they send people into your organizations to disrupt them, and it's usually successful. This is why when our young people look at our organizations, how come we don't have anything? How come we haven't built anything? And it seems like it never was. How come we can't get along? It's not that we can't. It's not that we don't. It's just there are people actively working to destroy what we have. And it's not just a Black issue. They do this all over the world. All over the world. So again, it's not a Black-white issue. It's a right or wrong issue. And I want to encourage you, implore you tonight,